Okay, next, John Duff.
Here's the token I want to talk about. This came from Bill. Well, actually, Bill McIver showed me this 6 or 7 years ago. He knew I liked crazy stuff. Um, and he said this was quite rare. I bought it just recently from Brian Harriet, who took over his business and his inventory. And it's got a real interesting story if you haven't heard about it. The figure on the obverse is John Philip Kimball. He was a British actor born in a theatrical family. In 1803, he became manager of the Theatre Royal of the Covent Gardens in central London by acquiring a sixth share of the theatre for £23,000. The Theatre Royal 5 years later, on September 2nd, 1808, burned to the ground at a loss of £250,000. A public subscription introduced by Duke of York, King George III, and the Duke of Northumberland raised £76,000 to help rebuild the theater, because both the Drury Lane Theater also burned that was near. So there really wasn't a theater in central London at this point. Um, so the theater would reopen in September 18th, 1809, but Kimball was forced to reopen with higher prices due to the high cost of rebuilding the theater, and this would cause riots. So this is, while it's not dated, it comes from 1809, and there are several types of old price riot tokens. This is the rare one. It's 44 millimeters. It's quite large, and it has a brass for suspension. Um, there were several smaller ones. Most of them were hold, and the rioters would wear these. And several of the rioters were arrested for wearing them because they were basically saying they were rioters. So the meanings on this is quite interesting. We look at the figure. This is a figure of Kimball with the ass ears. And it says here, this is the Jew which Shakespeare drew. They're talking about the Shylock character in the Merchant of the Merchant of Venice play, who was a Jewish Venetian money launderer. I meant money lender, excuse me. So what the rioters were opposing is Kimball was going to take the boxes and make them private and charge £300 a year. He was raising the prices of all the other seats except the uh, the this what they called the nosebleed, the pigeonhole seats, where you could only see the feet of the actors. Everything else was risen. The riots would go on for 64 days. The theater itself was not damaged, but 20 people lost their lives. Kimball called the police as well as the famous boxer Daniel Mendoza to quash the riots without any success. Kimball would eventually relent and apologize, lower the prices, and end his plan to convert the public boxes to private boxes. So you'll notice on the reverse side it says OP. That stands for old prices. OB stands for open boxes, and DPO stands for deference to public opinion, which they were basically saying, listen to what we're saying, right? um, on the obverse, it says, avarice and titled lust alone we blame, yet blush we must, 'tis a nation's shame. So they're shaming. The head of Kimball as Shylock with ass ears above. This is the Jew that Shakespeare drew as the representing Shakespeare merchant, Shylock in Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice. The reverse says the drama laws the drama's patron give, and he who lives to please must please to live. Has an oak wreath with trumpet and rattle. And the trumpet and rattle were the favorite weapons of the rioters wanting the prices to go down. Okay. Then it says, "What do ye want?" And that's where you get the OP, OB, and WPO, those sayings that they all were saying. It's white metal bound with a brass suspension. Uh, uh, anyway, that's the story on this. I do have two other types of these tokens that are much more common, and almost all of them are hold. The two of the three others that I have are hold because they would wear them as a sign of, hey, I'm on this side. Anyway, I thought it was really a very interesting story and very cool token. And that's it.